Today we are discussing about file handling in Python. The process of file handling refers to how we store the available data or information in a file with the help of a programming language. File handling refers to the process of performing many operations like creating a file, opening a file, reading a file, or writing the data into the file. And after all these operations are performed, we are going to close the file. These operations are done through a programming language. This refers file handling. Look at this program. The data to be given as an input is stored in an input file. And after executing the program, this program generates the output. It is stored in an output file. Even after closing the program, you can get back the data which is given as an input by opening input file. You can open the results stored in an output file. So this is the concept of file handling. There are two types of files. You know that all the data are stored in the binary form. They are nothing but collection of zeros and ones. Every file is basically just a series of bytes stored one after the other. Mainly there are two types of data files, text file and the binary file. The contents present in the text file are human readable characters which can be opened by any text editor. But the content stored in the binary files are made up of non-human readable characters and symbols. You cannot read. To open the data stored in the binary file requires specific application program to access its contents. But it is not human readable. Coming to the text file. The text file is a file that stores data in the form of readable characters. As we told before, human readable characters such as letters, numbers, and symbols. They are stored in the sequence of bytes consisting of zeros and ones. When we open a text file using a text editor, you can see many lines of text. But while opening a text file, the text editor translates each value assigned by ASCII or Unicode scheme and converts that into a human readable character. This is the work of text editor. The text editor translates each ASCII or Unicode value and shows us the equivalent character that is readable by the human being. So this is more important. But in case of binary files, as you know, all the data are stored in the form of zeros and ones. But these bytes of information do not represent the ASCII values of characters. Binary files are stored in a computer in a sequence of bytes. Even a single bit change can corrupt the whole file and make it unreadable to the supporting application. Now we are discussing about opening and closing a text file. The syntax of open a text file is as follows. Within the bracket, you are mentioning two parameters in an open function. The first one, the file name, the name given by the user where you want to open that particular file. Access mode, specifies how the file will be used. Here the mode means the operation for which the file has to be opened for. It may be for reading purpose, for writing purpose, or for both reading and writing purpose. And the file object is a variable that represents the file name which is opened using this statement. Look at this sample code. This statement opens a file named data.txt. .txt indicates it's a text file, and it is opening for reading purpose. After the file is opened, we are going to use the read function. Using this file object, you are calling the read function. This read function reads the data stored in this file, and that will be assigned to the variable content. Using the same file object which represents this text file, you are going to call another function called close. When this function close is called, all the data which is written into this file content, means assigned to this file content, will be saved. Suppose the file name mentioned does not exist, then the above statement creates a new empty file and assigns it the name we specify in this statement. The file object tells us three kinds of information about the file. Number one, this statement returns true if the file is closed and returns false if the file is not closed. This statement returns the access mode for which the file was opened. This statement returns the name of the file. Closing a file. Once we are done with read-write operations on a file, it is always a good practice to close the file. Python provides a close method to do so. Let us look about the syntax of close function. File object dot close. Here the file object represents the file opened, or you can say that file object is the object that was returned while opening the file. Python makes sure that any unwritten or unsaved data is flushed off, means it is written to the file before it is closed. When you call close function, the unsaved or unwritten data will be written into the file. Hence, it is always advised to close the file once our work is done. Also, if the file object is reassigned to some other file, then the previous file is automatically closed. My dear friends, if you feel that our videos are informative, please subscribe, give like and comment and share our videos. Thank you. Now let us discuss about opening a file using with class. In Python, we can also open a file using with class. Look at the syntax. With open, and there are two parameters, file name and access mode, and this is the file object. Look at this sample code. This is the name of the file, which is a text file. The R plus indicates that the file is opened for reading and writing purpose, and this is the file object. Using the file object, you are calling the read method, which reads the data from this file and it will be assigned to the variable content. Now we don't have to use the close function. explicitly, because in this method Python will automatically close the file. You need not to write the close function. Then how to write a text file? How to write a text file? For writing a file, we first need to open it in write or append mode. What happens if it is opened in write mode? If you use write mode, the previous data will be erased and the file object will be positioned at the beginning of the file. Whatever the data present previously will be erased and the file object will be placed at the beginning of the file. For writing to a file in append mode, the new data will be added at the end of the previous data, because the file object will be placed at the end of the file. The previous data written before will be kept as it is. Now the new data will be added after this end of the file. Coming to the write method. Write method is for writing a single string. This method takes a string as an argument and writes it to the text file. It returns the number of characters being written on a single execution of the write method. Look at this sample code. We have a text file named myfile, and this file is opened for writing purpose, and this is the file object. Using the file object, you are using write method. Within that, as an argument, you have given a string. This write method returns the number of characters being written to the file, that is 41. After that, you have to write close function, because you have opened the file using open function, not with class. The write method actually writes the data onto the buffer when the close method is executed. Then what about how to write a numeric data to a text file? If you want to write numeric data to a text file, it must be converted to a string using str method. Look at this sample code. 58 is assigned to the variable marks. This is a numerical data. That data will be converted to the string. Then after converting it to the string, then this write function writes the string to the file. Now let us discuss about the writelines method. This method is used to write multiple strings to the file. We need to pass an object like list, tuple, etc., which contains strings. These are used to pass the strings to the writelines method. Look at the sample code. We have opened a file, myfile, for writing purpose. There is a list which contains 3 strings. This \n indicates the end of the line. Using this writelines method, you are passing these 3 strings using this writeline method, and it will be written into the file named myfile with extension .txt. When you open this file, what we call myfile.txt, using notepad, you can observe these 3 strings which is written to the file. Then reading from a text file. To read data from a text file, we go for read method. This method is used to read a specified number of bytes of data from a data file. Look at the syntax. Within this read method, we are using n, which indicates the number of bytes. Look at the sample code. You have opened a file named my file for reading purpose. The extension indicates it's a text file. Now you are mentioning n as 10, which indicates 10 character is to be read from this text file named my file. Now 10 characters are returned after reading the very first line of string. Go for the readLine method. This method reads one complete line from a file, where each line terminates with a new line character. It can also be used to read a specified number of characters or specified number of bytes of data from a file, but it is maximum up to the new line character. Look at this sample code. This file is open for reading purpose, and you are mentioning that 10 bytes of data is to be read from this my file. Now 10 characters is read from this file called my file, which is a text file. Suppose if no argument or a negative number is specified, it reads a complete line and returns a string. Look at the sample code. In the readLine method, you are not mentioning the size of data to be read. Now it returns a complete line of string, including the backslash and a new line character. What about the readLines method? This method reads all the lines and returns the lines along with new line as a list of strings. The following example uses readLines method to read data from a text file. What we explained so far, which is nothing but my file. Now we are opening a file for reading purpose. You are not mentioning any size of data. Now this readlines functions reads all the lines present in the text file. So this is how writing and reading the data from your text file. My dear friends, if you feel that our videos are informative, please subscribe, give like and comment and share our videos. Thank you. My dear friends, if you feel that our videos are informative,